Welcome into Carp's Corner here. A lot going on. Big college football weekend. And now we finally have the Final Four set. We're going to have Michigan, Georgia, Bama, Cincinnati locked in here. So we have our four teams all locked in. Finally got to this point in the college football season. Took a long time, 14 weeks, finally landing where we need to ultimately be. But obviously a nice job for the four teams that will be playing in the playoff. A lot of coaching news coming down the pike as we sit here and look at this as well. You know, guys moving all around, how these transitions are happening. And is it good for the sport? Is it bad for a sport? Is it just a thing that's happening that we have to get used to? But all the different elements that will go into it, all the different ingredients that are going into this is something that we're going to have to take a look at as well, of how we kind of got here. And is there a way to get back with some of the things? Because I'll get into a couple of the coaching searches. Most notably, you know, we've got Miami out there, the mess that it is, the Miami Hurricanes and everything that's going on with their coaching search. And then also the coaching search, what looks like is finally coming to a conclusion as well, out in Oklahoma. So everybody appears to be getting their man. And I think that that's what's important in this, is that you get the coach that you want, but ultimately how you go about it is important as well. So I wanted to start out with this real quickly. We'll buzz through some of the games and talk about the implications of what happened in some of those championship games and why I think it's important moving forward to understand, you know, what you can take away from this, and will it matter, you know, later on in the playoff? Will it matter maybe in some of these bowl games? Are there things that are maybe transferable to next season, or even for some of these guys as they ultimately end up in the NFL? But one rule that I want to put in, and we do a lot of things in football now for safety purposes, protecting quarterbacks, defenseless players, receivers, whatever it might be. You know, they put stuff in, blindside blocks and the crackbacks and stuff to maybe protect the defensive guys. Some things blocking below the waist, things that you want to help protect the defensive guys as well, elongate their careers, keep them safe. Most of the stuff we put in for the offenses is protect the head, and I get all that. And a lot of it's to protect the quarterbacks, which makes sense. If you've ever watched a game, whether it be college or NFL, with a couple of backup quarterbacks, it's no fun to watch when they can't complete a ball and it's just offenses that look bad. And so you want to keep your starting quarterbacks upright. And so how do you do that? You protect them, you allow them to slide, you don't let them to take big hits. In the NFL, you can't land on them anymore, no helmet-to-helmet contact, all these different things. You put it all out there. And everybody's been applauding this move that went on the ACC championship, Pitt versus Wake. We've got Kenny Pickett, who's a great athlete. I hope he gets to New York. I don't think he's ultimately going to win the Heisman, but I do think he probably deserves to be there. He came back. He's a success story of what you can do if you want to come back, elevate your draft status. I don't know who's going to be the first quarterback taken. People are throwing his name out there right now. It's really early in the process to try to, you know, give someone that type of praise at this point and try to lock him in. But he's definitely doing a good job. He's going to be in the selection set for top quarterbacks. And like I said, hopefully he's in New York with the Heisman. Now, I believe ultimately Bryce Young's going to win that, but we'll get to that here in a minute. But Kenny Pickett on the heels of one of his, you know, remarkable runs, everybody's championing it, clapping it. And I didn't see the run live. I'm bouncing back and forth between Big Ten championship, ACC championship, ACC, not a whole lot on the line, Big Ten kind of a snoozer. And after you had some great games earlier in the day, the night didn't really end up the way that you would have wanted to. And then there was really limited drama on Sunday. But I'll take my drama in the games. But Kenny Pickett wheels off, you know, it's some 40, 50-yard touchdown run. Heck, it may have been 55 yards. But in the middle of the run, he goes to hit the fake slide, peels out of it, and weaves around. Scores a touchdown. Great, great athlete. I'm not sure even how he did it without tearing his ACL, breaking an ankle, whatever it might have been. Maybe someone else's ankle, heck, maybe even his own. But it was a great athletic play. Defenders freeze and they kind of move. And here's the way that the rule is written. When a player initiates a slide and gives themselves up feet first, and it's different in college versus the NFL a little bit, because college, you're not granted, you know, room until you touch. It's wherever you initiate the slide. And that's how it is in the NFL. And so when you go to initiate the slide, you're given maximum protections. You are given all of the protection you can be given on the football field. And that's why they penalize players, and they're so punitive to the defense when they go in and the guy's sliding, you see him leaning back. And then all of a sudden the guy comes in and he's like, he'd already initiated his tackling sequence. By the time the slide was initiated, it doesn't matter. Throwing a penalty anyway. So you see guys like avoiding, trying to throw their hands up, get out of the way. So Kenny Pickett does something, a move that is supposed to be put in for player safety. And maybe this is a defensive guy, me like shaking my fist at the air, get off my lawn. I like the way football used to be. I'm not saying that I'm against the slides. I'm telling you that if you're going to allow quarterbacks to fake slide and to keep running, then I'm not sure you really want any defense played at all. There's no possible way, because now you were putting the defenders in a rock and a hard place before. Think about this now, to where anytime a player dips, kicks a foot out like they're going to go down, defensive players, they are taught, it is ingrained in them. This has been beat into them in film and meetings and practice and everything else. When they go to slide, you got to pull off. You got to pull off. And so we had guys pulling off for Wake Forest, and Kenny Pickett hits the fake slide and then runs for another 30 yards and a touchdown. And everyone's like, it's an athletic move. Fine. I can concede all of that. And I'm willing to say, Kenny Pickett, it was a great job. You're really athletic, but you cannot do that. If someone's looking to initiate a slide, it should be like a fair catch. If you are looking to initiate it and we deem that you did, it's over. We're blowing the play dead. To eliminate that, because you're going to be putting defenders in a heck of a spot to try to solve that problem. And to me, it's ridiculous. So that's why I wanted to open with that, because there's so much there of what you're asking defenders to do. The coaching searches and the way that they operate, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And a lot of ADs are working the back channels. Everybody understands that. They're calling agents, they're calling friends. I mean, they work this way. So the coach has plausible deniability. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I woke up and all of a sudden 24 hours I slept on it. I'm the head coach somewhere else. Like it's crazy. With Lincoln Riley, Brian Kelly said, both of these guys are working channels, back channels for different universities, trying to get out. And that's fine. I get it. I understand how it works. But those schools didn't have coaches. They'd already moved on. Ed Orgeron was finishing the season. They had gotten rid of their coach in USC, Mike Helton, a while back before that. So they had moved on already and those positions were open. And so everybody expects the coach to do that, because the coach is kind of like the child in the situation. They're lobbying to get the best position they can, most prestige, most money, whatever it is, all those things wrapped up into one. That's what the coach ultimately wants. But you expect more from your university because it's an entity. There's some accountability there. The entity is going to exist far long after the coach has been done coaching. So Manny Diaz, love him or hate him, is the Miami coach of the Florida Hurricanes. At least he was. It just came down, it came down fairly recently on Monday that he was fired. However, they didn't have an AD. And so the boosters, I guess, were kind of trying to basically run this. Brett McMurphy had a tweet about it. A number of people would put out there that, everybody thinks they're in charge, so no one's really in charge. And this whole coaching search, it's an absolute disaster. Okay. And I kind of agreed with that. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Did they want Mario Cristobal last year and they never got him? That's fine. Fire Manny Diaz and go after Mario Cristobal. No, what Miami chose to do is Manny Diaz is out on the road recruiting. And you want to talk about cutting your legs out. I mean, we were beating up Brian Kelly because he had assistant coaches out there recruiting for Notre Dame. And then they find out he's taken the LSU job. And it's like, how could you not tell those guys? Whatever. But you're a university. You're sending overtures and basically offering a contract to Mario Cristobal that he had, with a time stamp on it, that he had so much time left before the duration before it would expire that he could accept it for a big dollar amount. And you have that while you have your head coach. And it was reported, well, if Mario Cristobal didn't just accept it, that, we're just going to move on and we're going to leave Manny Diaz as our head coach. And that's just the way that we were going to proceed. And I sit there and I hear that. I'm like, is this really where we are in society? I expect that out of college coaches. I expect them to be flirting around and looking at other stuff and, talking to other schools as their head coach. But I don't expect that from a university to offer somebody a position with a contract that's already filled by the current head coach. You haven't even had the gall to fire him. And you know what? If they don't take the job, yeah, we'll roll another year with you, Manny, because then we don't want to pay the buyout. And there's really nobody else out there that we want. Either A, fire the coach, go all in and try to hire your desired coach, or B, don't do it. Those are the options. It's not, hey, flirt here. I'm going to offer you a deal. If you turn it down, then we're going to keep Coach A. Either you like your coach or you don't. Either you want a new coach or you don't. And if you know the guy that you want, fire your coach and go try to get him. If you can't get him, well, that's more of an indictment on your university and maybe what you have to offer and your financial wherewithal and ability to pay. But the way Miami did it, I'm not going to defend college coaches all that often, but that was absolutely embarrassing. And Manny Diaz, he deserves more respect than that. He is a Miami guy. You know, he's done the best he can by that university. Maybe he hasn't had the success that you want, and this year was disappointing, and I get it. But he deserves better than having someone else sit there and basically, you know, your partner in work to be out there courting someone else for your job while you still have it. He deserved better than that. So on the other hand, we got Brent Venables. Looked like he's looked up, iced up here at Oklahoma. Everybody appears to love this hire. All the alumni that I've spoken to in Oklahoma, they're passionate about it. The media likes it. I think the fans like it. BV, as they call him, coming back home to the Sooner State, left in 2011 and has been wildly successful at Clemson. Highest paid defensive coordinator, you know, assistant in college football, and he was probably worth every penny. Their defense this year was dragging Clemson along because they've been good each and every year. He's a brilliant mind. Now we'll see what he can do as a head coach. And if you're Brent Venables, this is probably now or never. You've been an assistant for so long. You've been waiting for the right job. If this isn't it, I'm not sure exactly what would have been. But there's a lot of people that are really fired up. Oklahoma gets their guy after getting left by Lincoln Riley. And so now the onus is going to be pushed on Brent Venables. Big dog, you got to figure this thing out recruiting-wise. You got to figure out what's going on in the portal. We got to try to salvage our roster and get this thing going in a hurry. So he's going to have a lot falling on his plate. Took a little bit longer. He was the clear candidate or obvious candidate, the front runner for so long that, you know, people began to wonder, was there someone else? Were there overtures being made? They said Matt Campbell was out of it. You know, could Luke Fickell have been in the mix? You know, who knows? But when the obvious guy, you don't see that tie up right away, and a guy who was going to have interest, Brent Venables was going to have interest. And it took a little bit longer than people were like. There was some nerves, I think, out there for Boomer Sooner, but they were able to get that done and get that locked up. You know, and speaking of Boomer Sooner, I don't know if Lincoln Riley's going to leave his dogs behind for Brent Venables or not, who coincidentally are named Boomer and are named Sooner. So we'll see ultimately what happens with that as I joke a little bit and digress from the story. But some other stuff going on there at OU. You've got, and this is some NIL stuff. You know, so Spencer Rattler came in, highly acclaimed, Heisman Trophy frontrunner to start the season, gets benched. We all know the story. He's in the transfer portal. Quinn Ewers, number one quarterback in the country, enrolls early at Ohio State so he can get his NIL deals. How he comes in 2 weeks into training camp. He takes a couple of snaps this year, doesn't throw a pass. And the expectation was that he wasn't going to do that. And so now this is where we're at. We've got the transfer portal, which you can transfer without penalty. But on top of that, we've got all these NIL deals. And reportedly, those guys, I mean, you're talking 6-7 figure NIL deals. Now, some of the people have kind of read off. I've heard some of the language that's been thrown around. But a big question is, how does the language in those deals, are there play incentives to them? Play time, winning conference championships, national championships, Heisman Trophy appearances? You know, are they tied to potentially what school you're at? Obviously, some of the local deals might be, but it depends on how well those contracts are written. And this is the thing that it gets sticky with early in the process of anything. It's a brand new industry that's created. Some kinks that are going to need to be worked out. There's some issues that you're going to have. And right now, I think we're going to see some of these as guys are leaving and, you know, businesses start reading through their contracts, looking there. Players probably have a pretty good idea and their representatives, but their reps are obviously writing the best deal they can for them. You think the business on the other side of that would be doing the same, and generally that they are. But there's a lot of this broken down with Quinn Ewers leaving. The amount of people in Columbus, Ohio that have asked me, well, what about his NIL stuff? How does that work? How's the truck work that he got from Reichert? How does this? I don't know. I said I'd have to read the contracts because you can put anything in the contracts that you want. And it can be, like I said, as beneficial or as punitive to the player as you really are asking. So that is one of the things as we see this first big portal season open up with NIL combined. Going to be a lot of things, a lot of questions going to be answered. Early signing period 2, coaching carousel. That's why you see this stuff just crazy spinning. Coaching hires trying to get it right, and they want to get it done before the early signing period to be able to get your high school players locked up and guys who are in the portal potentially looking to make a move. Before break down and hammer through some of these conference championship games, did see something, watching some NFL yesterday. John Harbaugh, coach of the Ravens, brother Jim, head coach at Michigan. John's been a guy that's gone for 2 a lot this year. He's gone for it on 4th down. He's done a ton of stuff. He had a chance late in the game to win it down by a point instead of tying it, going for 2 and trying to win it versus the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game that, like, their last 13 or 14 games have been decided by less than a field goal. It's always bitterly contested. It's always hard fought. John Harbaugh has Lamar Jackson, former MVP, elects to go for 2. I love the call of being aggressive because he's done it all season long. And if coaches are going to tell their players, hey, we're going to be aggressive, I'm going to follow the numbers. We may be doing some things counterculture, but this is how we're going to operate. You can't just say, hey, we're only going to do it in the first quarter of a meaningless game. We're talking big rivalry game, division game. It's going to be important to stick with your guns and to operate the same way, even when you're under immense pressure. And frankly, they didn't get it. The Steelers win the game, but I like the play call. Some play action, a little quick boot to get to the perimeter. You've got a run pass option for Lamar Jackson, and he flips it out there to Andrews, and it's just a little bit outside of the tight end's reach. It tips his fingers. He couldn't pull it back in. And like I said, they don't get it, and ultimately Pittsburgh wins the game. I like the call to go for it. I even like the play call. Sometimes those things don't work out. Just because you run it by the numbers, it's not 100%. It may say it works 60, 70, 80, but you can always fall into the tail of the distribution right there, and it may not work out for you. So don't judge results. Judge it by how you operate and the consistency of decisions that you make. Well done, John Harbaugh. Diving into the conference championship games. A lot there. Big 12, Baylor, Oak State, 21-16. Baylor prevails. They've got a big lead. They're up 21-3, 21-6. Oak State comes storming back. Baylor 2 goal line stands. And this is a game, that because Oklahoma State lost, it eliminated a little bit of the drama. Would they jump Cincinnati? Would they be able to jump Notre Dame? Bama beating Georgia, I think, eliminated some of that too. But when this happened, you thought, okay, there's not going to be no one that comes ultimately from behind Cincinnati or Notre Dame. But give it to Baylor and Dave Aranda. 2 goal line stands. Force a field goal on the first one. Second one, the race to the pylon. And so oftentimes when you see a running back bounce it, go dive, it seems like they almost always get there because we're conditioned to see that play, the stretch. You look at it down the side, and all you have to see is the tip of the ball break the plane of the white. Well, it ultimately didn't happen. And immediately they zoom over Mike Gundy, stoic face. Okay, you get that. He's a coach that just lost an opportunity to win a Big 12 championship and potentially go to the college football playoff, which if they won that, I don't think it would have mattered ultimately because Bama beat Georgia. But if that wouldn't have happened, you would have thought they probably would be getting in. And heck, maybe they still could have jumped Cincinnati anyway. Who knows how that would have shaken out. But then you zoom over to Dave Aranda, guy who just won his first conference championship as a coach, and he's sitting there just locked up, arms crossed, stone-faced. I'm like, man, celebrate. Just crack a smile. But he's all business. He's done a great job there at Baylor. I'm glad they're keeping him. It's good for football to have some of these great coaches dispersed around. Apparently he loves being there because I thought he could have been a guy that would have been tied to LSU, Oklahoma, a bunch of these other jobs, but just stone-faced, staring at him. And, Oak State, obviously they're going to be getting to go to a nice little bowl game. They have to find a way. I believe they're playing Notre Dame. They've got to find a way. We'll break all that down later, but Spencer Sanders has to find a way not to be a turnover machine if they want to have any chance of being able to win that one. Pac-12 championship, not really any implications on a national scale, except for the fact that Mario Cristobal looks like he's probably been checked out for two or 3 weeks now because they got you would call it boat race, but a boat race to me is big plays down the field. They got bludgeoned twice at the end of the season now by the Utah Utes, who started off really slow and have caught fire and run the football and are tough and physical. 190 yards on the ground. They limited Oregon to 250 on the ground. Oregon was 3 for 12, 25% on third downs. And it wasn't like Utah played a flawless game. Their quarterback, Cam Rising, I mean, he had 2 interceptions. And so they were able to get the victory without playing perfect. And they won that game 38-10, 28-point margin, absolutely stomped the Ducks. And so they're scrambling, trying to figure out their coaching situation. But Utah playing Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, that's going to be a huge opportunity for Ohio State to show they can stop the run. Because that's one thing Utah does. They're tough, they're physical, and they run the football. A couple of quick games here. Cincinnati, great to see them get the victory and give themselves a chance in the AAC, being the first team getting in. Huge for Luke Fickell. I love they played at the home site. You get to watch all the fans rush down on the field, Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. Really a heartwarming scene. And what do they get for their reward? To play the biggest bully on the block. They get to take on Goliath in Alabama. So excited for that, as we'll break that down here coming up in future shows. Some news here as well. Georgia, Bama. And I've been saying this all year, and people have been sitting there, kind of poo-pooing it, crapping on it. I didn't think Georgia would ever be able to win a Chase game, or they would have to prove to me, rather, that they could win a Chase game. Bama got up on them. They were able to get a lead, and in doing so, that put Georgia behind the 8 ball. They couldn't just run it and play defense. They pushed a lot onto Stetson Bennett. He played okay. He had over 300 yards passing, close to 350. But, critical interception there at the end, wasn't able to get it done. And here's how Bama did it. When you're playing a team that has elite defensive line, you can't just run right into the teeth of them. And frankly, Bama hasn't really been good running the football all year. Like, they struggled. That's not what they're good at. And they've got Bryce Young, who's a pocket passer, who used his legs. They came in big. But the way you do it is a lot of movement, lateral movement to run those defensive linemen. Now, you have to get a first down or two and get to that 5th, 6th, 7th play in the drive where you're not substituting. You're gassing out the defensive linemen from running down, chasing bubble screens, lateral runs, quick game, and you keep going to the line. And you don't necessarily have to snap it fast, but you just can't let them get off the field, because those 340-pounders that are playing inside, they'll wreck you if they can get rest. But when they can't, you'll see what happened with Bryce Young. Late in the drives, he was given a ton of time because the pass rush didn't exist. It was extinct. Once you get into play 9, 10 in a drive, even heck 7 or 8, those guys are gassed out because they haven't been able to get to the sideline and get some rest. So that was the methodology Bill O'Brien and Nick Saban used. I don't know if Michigan can repeat it. We'll get to that other side, and we'll dig it out later with that. But the key to Georgia is, could you get up on them? Could you exhaust that defensive front? And as we saw, their secondary is good, but they were covered up by great pressure most of the year. That's not a knock on them, but that's just the reality of what has happened. And Bama did a great job. They schemed it up as well as anybody ever has done. And then the last game, Big Ten championship, I would argue Michigan probably should have been first. They've played as well the last month as anybody, starting with their victory over Penn State and Happy Valley, 21-17. They've got the late crosser to all. McNamara puts it in there. He turns, rounds the corner, and they ultimately, win that football game. They're the playing great football. They bludgeon Ohio, beat Maryland, bludgeon Ohio State, up and down the field. And then they just absolutely eviscerate Iowa, especially in the second half. Get that early lead. Iowa's not built to play from behind. They have to run the football and play defense. And in doing that, you're seeing a lot from Josh Gaddis, their offensive coordinator. They've always been running the football pretty well all season long, but they started getting more creative with it. They started throwing some more play actions. They've got the bubble pass, the double pass, running back, halfback pass they've thrown out there, some flea flickers, ran a reverse in the red zone against Ohio State. Those are some of the explosive gains. Those are some of the things he's going to have to work in that will need to happen for them to be able to have success. He utilized that early in the game. They got the lead. They've been utilizing J.J. McCarthy, their young quarterback as well. He comes in, will give them a little different flavor, a little different look. But Josh Gaddis, kudos to you, sir, for finding a way to taking this running attack, which has been really good, and supplemented with a great defense, and now putting some of those explosive gains around it as well, being able to have some success. And the emergence then of Blake Corum coming back as well. He had the leg injury, got back. You saw the speed. He's going to need to be a home run threat in the college football playoff for them to be able to have success. And the last piece, utilizing Donovan Edwards. They've done a good job with him out of the backfield. He's their little X factor. And I mean, their three best skill guys are really their three running backs. And they just find different ways to deploy them. And that's a tip of the cap to Josh Gaddis for what he's been able to do and Jim Harbaugh this year, blending that toughness, that hardcore physical pounding football with a little bit of that flair and flavor that you like to see. And you have to see if you're going to want to win big games, because it's too hard to put together 80-yard drives in 3, 4, and 5-yard increments. You need a couple 20-yard chunk plays in there to make it easier. Well, that's this edition of Carp's Corner. We will break down all the bowl matchups, everything that's going on, start sprinkling in some more NFL stuff, some of these coaching searches, transfer portal. There's all kinds of stuff going on. That'll be coming up next on Carp's Corner. Thanks.